Hello, my name is Alexander Kerry. Welcome to the program. Ukraine's creative and dynamic art scene has been rapidly developing all over the country. Izolyatsia is the best example of this. The cultural platform, founded in Donetsk, was relocated to Kiev in 2014 following Russia's military intervention in the region. The platform recently opened an exhibition called House of Culture. So how has this new platform influenced the Ukrainian art scene? Joining us in the studio to discuss this is Mykhailo, Communication Director of Izolyatsia. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So first, this term, cultural platform, is a wide term. Can you tell us more about this?
So we started in 2010 with the idea to develop the whole region's art scene. And because there was no any kind of cultural institution except for government museums, we wanted to become a platform where people can come with their ideas and we will help them to implement these ideas. Apart from this, we wanted to become a place where infrastructure for cultural projects will arise. Traditionally, Donbas in eastern Ukraine is a big region for industry, for factories, mines, and most of the population would be busy working at these spheres, but no one would be working in any kind of creative things, not that much as we wanted. So we want people to come and to start working with us, to build infrastructure, to build services needed for the culture and art, and to create new jobs for these directions.
But why Donetsk? Because, as you said, it's a really industrial region, so why choosing an industrial region with not that much of cultural things here?
Well, first of all, because it's a big and great place to start. There are a lot of people, 4.5 million people used to be living in the Donetsk region, for example. All of them really active, and of course, because it's our mother region. All of us were born there, and we wanted to help it to develop. There is a great example of other places all around Europe who used to be old industrial regions which ran out of money, which ran out of resources, and they were turned into new cultural touristic places, which provided again new workplaces for local people. And we wanted to
have a higher class of people could come around.
Sure, yeah.
So, well, there's been a lot of talk about that the Russian-backed separatist force who seized Donetsk and who occupied Donetsk, part of Luhansk and Donetsk, see your platform as a threat, basically. Why do you think you're a threat to them?
Well, I think there are lots of different reasons for this to happen. One of them is really practical. The place was a big factory with infrastructure in it, with internet, lots of equipment, canteen, whatever you want. So it's really a good place to seize, ironically. But on the other hand, of course, because we were a platform, we would give a voice to anyone who wanted to speak. So, for example, one of our last big events, we had a big Ukrainian literature festival, and we invited people from all around Ukraine, including people from then occupied Crimea, to come to speak their minds. And of course, people who were in charge of DPR, they didn't want those people to talk and to express their minds. Of course, they wanted to have a picture where everyone is happy with what's going on.
So, as I understand now, this platform, this place has been turned into a prison in Donetsk. What are the risks of being a contemporary artist living in occupied Donetsk, right now?
No, of course, it's not possible to be a contemporary artist now in Donetsk, because contemporary art always is about critiques, about thinking, about what's going on around, and you cannot do it in Donetsk. So there is a great example of Sergei Zakharov, who was called Donetsk Banksy for some time, because he was walking really early in the streets of Donetsk, and he would put cartoonish pictures of leaders of DPR on the streets to give a relief to people. People will go out from the houses, they will see these funny images, they will think that they are not alone in this occupation situation. But he was only capable of doing this a week, and then he was tracked down, and then he was put into prison. He was tortured for 2 months, or 3 months even. So, it's not safe, anyone would be caught, and it's not place for freedom of expression.
Art and politics seem deeply intertwined in Ukraine's contemporary art. I'm thinking about people like Jeff Koons or Damian Hirst is a really far scene from Ukraine right now. Why do you think politics and art are so closely connected here?
Well, it's an interesting story. First of all, when we started and we had this choice what to do in Donetsk, who will we bring, and we had all these options basically to bring all these well-known artists to come and to show whatever they're doing. But we then understood that people won't really be interested in this kind of art. They will think that we are crazy. So the first thing that we did, we brought American artists from Chinese, with Chinese past, Izolyatsia. He made the project together with local miners from salt mines and from the coal mines. So immediately people understood what it's about. And this basically lets us to answer that people here and now are really deep into this political discussion. The war in the East is really, of course, it's everyday's life news. You hear it on TV, and of course you want to reflect about this. You want to see what's going on, what we can do with it. So people, of course, would be really reflect on political situation around the world. So
would you say that Ukrainian civil society is more involved in art today than the government itself?
Well, of course, there is a huge amount of people who want to be to say their minds about what's going on in the East, and lots of them are really great in doing this. So there are lots of interesting new projects going on all around Europe. For example, last year only Izolyatsia had, I think, 5 or 6 exhibitions all around different places, commenting on what's going on in Ukraine now and what's going on in the east of Ukraine. Especially because Izolyatsia, our artists are, we're not NGO, we're not really interested in doing political stuff, so we are more trustworthy. People would trust us more, and we will express whatever happens in the east of Ukraine through our own experience.
So, and that's going to be my last question here. What's next for Izolyatsia? What's the next big thing?
So our main focus now is divided into big 3 streams of different events. One of them is whatever we are doing in eastern Ukraine. So now we're doing lots of projects to help local artists, local activists to do their own new venues, to do their own new projects, to help local people to start working in creative fields. And it's a really big, important project which we call Shift, like a shift in a factory. Then there is a big project of things we are doing in Kiev, which is about all the reflections to the world, the reflections to other people's experience all around Europe or the world in similar conflict situations. And then there is a big part of work that we are doing in the West, in European countries, in the United States, to bring the knowledge about what's going on in the East. So I think we will focus on these things a lot. This year we're planning lots of exhibitions, and we have plans for next year, so it's, of course, it's only beginning for us.
Well, thank you very much for this interview. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Talking contemporary art and politics was Mykhailo, Glubokyi, Communication Director of Izolyatsia. Stay tuned for the rest of the program.